Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are cracking open a file that I think touches on one of the most universally shared frustrations of the last 15 years.
Oh, easily.
I mean, picture the scene because you have all been there. You're outside, maybe it's raining, your hands are full of groceries, and you just need to make a quick call. So you summon your trusty digital assistant and you say very clearly, call mom.
And then there's that pause, that agonizing, like 3-second pause where you think it might actually work this time.
You get your hopes up.
And then it just confidently replies, calling crawl bomb.
Exactly. Crawl bomb. Who is crawl bomb? It's that classic experience. But if the stack of research we have in front of us today is accurate, the era of the crawl bomb might finally be over.
It really, really looks that way. We're doing a deep dive today into what's being called Siri 2.0. And looking at these documents, the big takeaway for me is that this isn't just a patch.
Right.
It's not a bug fix. The research describes it as a complete brain transplant.
A brain transplant. That's a heavy term. That implies the old brain is, being completely discarded.
Effectively, yes. And frankly, the stakes couldn't be higher for Apple right now. I mean, you look at the landscape. You've got ChatGPT, you've got Google Gemini.
Dominating.
Completely.
Yeah.
And Apple has been so noticeably quiet. But these sources suggest they are finally getting in the ring to duke it out.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to unpack how Apple plans to turn what does the source call it? A lovably confused assistant into a senior developer.
Yeah.
We're going to look at the shocking partnership powering it and map out the timeline for when this stuff actually lands in your pocket.
It's a fascinating roadmap. Let's get into it.
Okay, so the transformation itself. The source has this great line. The crawl bomb era is over. It says Siri is finally going to college, which is a pretty funny way of putting it.
It kind of implies it's been stuck in middle school since 2011.
Right. But technically, what's the shift here? Why has Siri been so, bad for so long?
It all comes down to the architecture. Until now, Siri's been what we call a command and control system. Think of it like a really rigid flowchart.
Okay.
You give a specific command, like set timer for 5 minutes, and if you see those exact words, it finds the script and it works.
But if I say something more natural, like, hey, I need to make sure the pasta doesn't overcook.
The script just breaks.
Yeah.
The old system has no idea what pasta or overcook means in that context. It just hears keywords it doesn't recognize and gives you, like, a web search. The core shift with Siri 2.0 is moving from that rigid structure to a fully embedded AI chatbot. It's moving from a database of commands to an LLM that actually understands intent.
So it's like less of a remote control and more of an actual intelligence.
Precisely. And the scope of this is just massive. The documents say this isn't just an iPhone thing. This is deep integration across iPhone, iPad, and Mac. A total overhaul planned for late 2026.
Late 2026. So we've got a little while to wait. Now, this brings us to the part of the research that, honestly, it just stopped me in my tracks.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Usually, Apple is the walled garden, right? They build everything themselves. Not invented here is basically their motto.
Oh, absolutely. If they didn't build it, they don't want it.
But these sources reveal a game-changing partnership. So who is actually under the hood of Siri 2.0?
This is the plot twist of the decade. According to these reports, Siri 2.0 will be powered by Google's Gemini.
Google. Wait. The Android guys.
The very same. The source material actually compares it to cats and dogs living together. It's a massive strategic pivot.
Oh, wow.
For years, the rumor was Apple was trying to build their own Apple GPT or something.
Yeah.
This confirms they've changed their minds.
That's wild. It's like Coke partnering with Pepsi. I have to ask the obvious question, why? Why would Apple, the company that sells privacy as its main product, get into bed with Google?
That is the multi-billion-dollar question.
Yeah.
The source calls it a match made in Silicon Heaven, which is a bit much, but the logic is sound. Think about it. Google has the raw AI prowess. Gemini is incredibly powerful. Apple just doesn't have that data set.
So Apple's deciding to buy the engine instead of trying to invent a new one from scratch.
Exactly. But, and this is the crucial part, they're not just plugging Gemini in raw. That would be a privacy disaster for their brand.
Right.
They're introducing something called Apple Foundation models.
Okay, unpack that. What does that mean in plain English?
Think of it like a very, very sophisticated filter. The underlying brain is Google, but this is a tuning layer specifically for Apple's ecosystem. The goal is to create experiences that, and this is a quote, actually understand what you mean on the first try.
That is the dream. Understand what you mean on the first try.
So Google provides the raw horsepower, and Apple builds the car around it. The chassis, the steering, and maybe most importantly, the locks on the doors.
Okay, that makes sense. Google's engine, Apple's body. So let's talk about the user side. For someone listening who just wants their phone to work better, how does the daily interaction change? The source says, gone are the days of one-and-done commands.
Right. This is the shift to conversational computing. Right now, if you ask Siri, who started Inception? It gives you an answer.
Yep.
But if you follow up with, how old is he? The old Siri just panics.
Yeah.
He has no idea who he is.
It has the memory of a goldfish.
It really does.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. With Siri 2.0, we get multi-turn dialogue. It remembers the context. It follows the conversation. You get, finally have a sensible argument with your phone.
I can already see myself losing movie trivia debates to Siri 2.0.
Yeah.
But it's not just voice anymore, right?
No, and that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
You can still use your voice, but you can also just hold the side button and type. It becomes a chat app.
That's great. I mean, if I'm in a meeting or a library, I can just text it like a friend instead of yelling at my phone.
Exactly. But the real magic is something the source calls screen powers unlocked. This goes way beyond just chat. We're talking web search, content creation, image generation.
Whoa.
And this one caught my eye. File analysis and coding help.
Coding help. On an iPhone.
Yes. The source has this great line that Siri went from intern to senior developer. It implies you could, take a screenshot of broken code, ask Siri, why isn't this working? And it could analyze the image and debug it for you.
That's a huge leap. An intern gets you coffee, a senior developer fixes the entire architecture.
And it's also about deep integration. This is where Apple's control comes in. Siri is embedded into mail, music, photos. It has contextual awareness.
Okay, contextual awareness is a buzzword. What does that actually look like?
It means Siri knows what you're doing right now. The source says it knows your digital life better than you do. And then it adds this little parenthetical that made me laugh. Slightly terrifying, mostly convenient.
That hits the nail on the head. Slightly terrifying.
It is. But it's the classic tech trade-off. To be helpful, it needs to know you have an appointment soon, your mom just texted you about dinner, and you've got a lasagna recipe open on your screen.
Okay, which brings us perfectly to the elephant in the room, the creep factor. When I read, it's reading your diary, but in a helpful way, I had a visceral reaction.
Of course.
So how does Apple square this with its hardline stance on privacy, especially with Google in the mix?
It's the most valid concern. The source breaks down Apple's defense into two main technologies. First is on-device intelligence.
So no internet needed.
For a huge amount of tasks, yes. Checking your calendar, reading your messages, that processing happens right on your iPhone's chip. The data literally never leaves the device.
So the diary stays in the bedroom, so to speak?
Exactly. But a phone chip can only do so much. For the really heavy lifting, like generating a complex image, it needs the cloud. That's where the second layer comes in, private cloud computing.
And this is where the Google partnership gets tricky. Whose cloud is it?
The source is very specific here. It says, heavy AI computations run on Apple devices or private cloud infrastructure Apple controls. Even if the logic is Gemini, the infrastructure is all Apple.
I see.
The source gives a reassurance. Your embarrassing 3 a.m. questions stay between you and Siri.
That is good to know. I think we all have some of those. So let's shift to visuals. If Siri's getting a brain transplant, it's getting a facelift too, right?
Oh yeah, the old glowing orb at the bottom of the screen, it's gone.
History.
Totally. It's replaced by a sleek conversation window, more like a chat app. But this is tied to a feature called App Awareness.
App awareness, is that part of those screen towers?
It is. It means the AI can visually interpret what's on your screen. If you're looking at a restaurant menu in Safari, Siri sees that menu. It understands the visual context.
So it could offer to map the address without you having to copy and paste it.
Right. The promise is efficiency. It won't make you repeat yourself 5 times because it sees the context. If you say, send this to Mike, it knows this is the menu and Mike is the contact you were just emailing.
That is the holy grail. Context. That's what's always been missing.
It's about reducing that cognitive load so you can just speak naturally.
Now, speaking of changing everything, there's one more thing hidden in these documents, and it's hardware.
Ah, yes. The AirTag-sized AI pin.
This sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. Describe this thing.
So it's a tiny wearable, about the size of an AirTag, but it's packed with cameras, microphones, and a speaker. It's described as a personal assistant fashionably pinned to your chest.
A lapel pin that's watching the world.
Pretty much. The goal is beyond screens. It's about getting always-on AI assistance without having to stare down at your phone all the time.
The use case they give is super specific. Siri will know you're at the grocery store before you do. How?
Because the cameras are seeing your environment. It recognizes the produce aisle. It pulls up your shopping list. It might even know you're out of milk because it saw you finish the carton this morning.
Wow. That is, useful, but the source asks the question directly. Revolutionary or creepy?
It's the ultimate debate, isn't it? Having an assistant that whispers, "Don't forget the milk," is amazing. But wearing a camera and microphone everywhere you go, that raises massive social and privacy questions.
It really does. It feels like we're inching closer to that movie, Her.
And remember, this is all theoretically powered by that same Google partnership.
Yeah, a Google Brain on an Apple pin on your chest watching you buy milk. What a time to be alive. So when can we actually get all this?
The source outlines a schedule for 2026, with big caveat, of course,
Yeah.
assuming Apple doesn't pull an Apple and delay everything.
A very fair disclaimer.
So first up is spring 2026. This is the appetizer. We'll see iOS 26.4 with some early personalization features, just a taste.
Okay.
The big moment is June 2026, the reveal. The official showcase at WWDC, the source says, cue the standing ovations.
And then the actual release.
Fall 2026, the main course. Full rollout in iOS 27, iPadOS 27, and macOS 14. That's when the brain transplant is complete.
So about a year and a half to prepare. Looking at this whole thing, it really does feel like Apple is playing catch up.
The source doesn't shy away from that. It mentions a 15 years behind sentiment. It felt like Apple was snoozing while competitors sprinted.
It did. It felt stagnant.
But this partnership is a 100% strategic pivot. Instead of stubbornly going it alone and taking another 5 years, they swatted their pride. They called in the experts.
Maturity looks good on them.
It does. It lets them focus on what they're good at. The analysis identifies Apple's secret sauce here as 3 key advantages.
Okay, let's run through them.
Number 1 is AI power, which they get from Gemini. Number 2 is ecosystem integration. The Polish, nobody does that like Apple. And number 3 is privacy.
Power, Polish, privacy, that's the triad.
Exactly. Google has the power, but lacks the polish and the privacy trust. Apple has the ecosystem and trust, but lacked the power.
It's a symbiotic relationship. It makes so much sense when you lay it out like that.
It really is. It positions Siri 2.0 to be something neither company could build on their own.
So let's wrap this up. We've covered the brain transplant, the shock Google partnership, the creepy but cool AI pin. What's the bottom line for the listener?
The bottom line is that the future of your phone is conversational. We're moving away from the era of frustrated sighs when your phone doesn't get you, toward an era of productivity where it anticipates your needs.
It's about the technology finally getting out of the way.
It is. And this isn't the finish line. It's the starting gun for the next phase of computing.
It is exciting, but also a little daunting, and I want to leave you, the listener, with a final provocative thought that comes straight from our source material.
Go for it.
The source says, with Google's brain and Apple's body, this might finally be the assistant we've been waiting for since 2011. It sounds perfect. But here's the question you need to ask yourself as we head toward 2026. Are you ready to let a Google-powered Applebot read your diary, even if it promises to only be helpful?
It's the ultimate convenience fee, isn't it?
Indeed it is. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Siri 2.0. We will see you next time.